That really was brief. I bet there was way more to show, but Fox Broadcasting cut it out. Anyway, on to technology. Unlike the Maya and Aztecs, the Inca built nearly all of their buildings out of stone. They kind of had to if they were going to last. It often snowed up in the mountains and mud houses aren't going to stand up to that. There were also many earthquakes, so these strong houses were a necessity. What is truly amazing is that the houses used no mortar or cement to hold the stones together. They didn't need it. In fact, many of the houses are still standing today in pretty darn good condition. The Incas cut the stones to fit into each other with absolute perfection, like two puzzle pieces. This kept them in place without any extra material to hold them there. Truly amazing stuff. One of the other things the Inca built were roads. Well, I say built, but mostly they just carved them straight out of the mountain.
The city boasts more than 600 terraces, over 170 buildings, thousands of steps, several temples, and 16 fountains. The Inca utilized hundreds of thousands of stones to build their city, some massive. Fortunately, they didn't have to go far to find construction materials.
People often ask, how did the Incas get these stones here to build this city? And you're looking at the answer. This is the main quarry of Machu Picchu, a massive jumble of white granite which they used to create this splendid city that you can see behind us.
The quality of Inca stonework is legendary. Important buildings exhibit a precision of stone fitting that almost defies explanation. After 500 years, a knife blade can't be inserted between the stones.
This is the rear wall of the Temple of the Sun. Probably the most important temple in Machu Picchu, and fittingly the finest wall of the whole site. An extraordinary example of Inca stonework, beautiful level courses, each tapering to a smaller height as they go to the top.
How did they achieve such precision? What sophisticated tools did they use? They didn't have steel chisels. They didn't even have iron chisels. Remarkably, without iron tools, the Inca used rock to carve rock.
The astounding road network of 24,000 kilometers built by the Incas facilitated the progress of the Spanish conquest. From the first day that we set foot on their land, the Incas never ceased to amaze us. I believe that if the Emperor of India, King of Spain, gave the order to build a new royal road from Quito to Cusco, or one that leaves Cusco to go to Chile in spite of his power, he could not succeed. The ruggedness of the mountains in Upper Peru makes the idea impractical. This is why the sight of one of these Incan roads produces such amazement. Imagine that these Indians, who don't know about the wheel or horses, built on the slopes and moors roads so wide that 8 horsemen could ride abreast. Perfectly straight for leagues, they climbed mountains in stairs that were hard for our horses to climb, dove into valleys and crossed gorges deeper than hell, thanks to the engineering of suspended bridges. On the numerous secondary roads, these bridges had no guardrails, and we crossed them on hands and knees. They were so high and the view was so startling. However, the Incas crossed these expanses running, with no fear of falling. I must tell you that these roads were only ever built to enable the Chasqui, the runner messengers, to deliver to the capital the latest news and produce from the 4 corners of the empire. As they ran in relays, the Chasqui spent their night in dwellings located along the route, allowing them to keep up their pace. Thanks to this delivery system, the emperor in the capital could receive perishables from Quito, which is located at the other end of the country in less than 5 days. Believe me when I tell you that a Spanish horseman would kill several mounts to cover the same distance, taking twice the time. It is this amazing network of roads that put fresh produce on Incan tables from the 4 corners of the empire that facilitated the pillaging of Peru.
Wow, we're just moving right along, aren't we? Mr. Roughton tells me this final section on government is quite a bit longer, and also super awesome. I guess we'll find out. The Inca, just like the Aztecs and Mayans, grew by conquering neighboring tribes. When the Inca conquered, they forced the other tribes to give up many aspects of their culture. They had to, for example, learn the Inca language and pay tribute to the Inca king. The leaders of the tribes were forced to leave their homelands and their children were kept as hostages. This ensured that the leaders would not encourage their people to rebel against Inca rule. If those rulers behaved well enough, they could actually earn their way into Inca society as a noble. I guess that was kind of cool. Even with that little bonus, the tribes were not happy with the tribute they paid, or how the Inca controlled them. There was eventually a split in the Inca Empire, and even within the Inca royal family itself. This led to a civil war that greatly weakened the Inca army. A civil war is when groups within a country fight each other. So like if California went to war with Nevada or something like that. They tend to be awful wars, as, no matter what happens, the country ends up weaker, at least for a while.
The year is 1532. Inca civilization is at its height. In less than a century, they've grown into the greatest power in the Americas. On this day, a bloody civil war is ended. A new leader has emerged. His name is Atahualpa. In the tradition of his ancestors, Atahualpa drinks from the skull of his opponent, a skull lined with gold. It's the skull of Atahualpa's brother. Just as Viracocha was the father of the sun, so each Inca leader was the son of the sun. And in 1532, that man was Atahualpa. He and his people were masters of their world. At his royal estate of Pisac, there was a temple in honor of the sun god Inti. Though this was a sacred site, a fortress protected the emperor, his court, and the rich farmland on the terraces below. With a commanding view of the valley, it was designed to defend against the wild Amazonian tribes to the east. But soon, a new enemy would appear. An enemy in search of gold, armed with their own god and powerful new weapons. An enemy that would threaten to destroy all the Inca had created. Inca emperors lived a life of extraordinary opulence. Atahualpa had many wives, and his choice of the most beautiful Inca women to serve his every need. His sacred body was clothed in the finest garments, worn once, then ceremonially burned